Wow. Well, you guys asked for it, here it is, a brand new in-depth look video. But that's not all. You see, these in-depth videos have been a side project of mine, something that I worked on during the holidays or while I wasn't working on other videos. But now that I'm settled in my new place, I can finally announce that In-Depth is going to be the main series of 4-8 Productions moving forward. No longer is it going to be smashed together with the Final Fantasy VII tutorial videos, it's going to be its own series and it's going to be released a lot more often. So I want to thank everybody who has supported In-Depth so far. I want to thank everyone who commented asking to see more. And now, I hope you enjoy this in-depth look at Tifa. Tifa Lockhart, childhood friend, martial arts expert, an actual flotation device. Tifa is perhaps the runner-up protagonist of Final Fantasy VII, following Cloud throughout the entire journey, becoming the party leader halfway through the game, and having an incredible impact on the story. However, even though Tifa is an important character, she is often overshadowed by Cloud's feud with Sephiroth, the many interesting villains of the game, and the more compelling parts of the story involving the other party members. Every character has a section of the game devoted to them that I like to call their monologue, or in other words, a part of the main plot that involves specifically them. Barrett has Coral Prison, Kate Sith has the Temple of the Ancients, Vincent and Yuffie have their own side quests, Sid has his space journey, Red 13 has Cosmo Canyon, and Aeris, well, she has all sorts of different moments, mostly Midgar, the Temple of the Ancients, and the City of the Ancients. Tifa, however, comes from the same hometown as Cloud, and most of her plot points actually revolve around Cloud, meaning that most of the spotlight is on him, which can leave Tifa ignored a lot of the time. Tifa herself has a pretty introverted personality, plus she's quiet during these parts because she's keeping a secret from Cloud, so naturally she just doesn't stand out too much during the plot. Tifa is the motherly character of the game, constantly tending to people, watching after Marlene, and protecting Cloud in a number of different ways. Tifa tends to absorb all the details of a situation before moving forward. This is further exemplified by her main position in the plot, the keeper of Cloud's deep dark secret. She could tell Cloud her secret at the very beginning of the game, but her desire to protect Cloud and her natural tendency to collect information before acting causes her to hold back several times, altering the plot of the game dramatically. All of these traits are greatly contradicted by Tifa's fighting style. Yeah, not exactly the most reserved fighting style. One of the biggest questions I receive about Tifa is a simple one. Is Tifa the main love interest of the story? Character designer Tetsuya Nomura liked the idea of having two potential love interests for the main character in Final Fantasy VII, since it had never been done before in the series. When it was decided that Aeris would be permanently removed later in the game, Tifa was created to be a rival for Cloud's love. Later on in development, Aeris became more of a fake love interest for Cloud, pulling him in the wrong direction as both characters have other motives that they should be moving towards. One extremely important thing to understand about the plot of Final Fantasy VII is that the entire beginning of the game is about Zack Cloud, and the end of the game is about the real Cloud. During the Zack Cloud section, Cloud tends to ignore Tifa, begins falling in love with Aeris, and Tifa keeps to herself to try to understand what's going on with Cloud. During the real Cloud section, Tifa opens up to Cloud, Cloud remembers his past loyalty to Tifa, and these two scenes happen. Aeris acts as essentially a monkey wrench in the Final Fantasy VII plot when it comes to Cloud and Tifa. She loses sight of her true goal when Zack dies, and gets led astray by Cloud because she sees Zack in him. But both Aeris and Cloud return to their true selves in their own ways, during both of the biggest moments in the story. The game alludes to Cloud's revelation constantly through Tifa, through the promise at the well, and through the many times that Tifa almost tells him her secret. So it can be said that Tifa is the true love interest of the story, as it's vital that Cloud returns to her and his promise that he made. Tifa was born in Nibelheim on May 3rd, 1987. Unfortunately, due to Tifa's shy nature, we don't know a ton about her childhood. When Tifa was younger, she was much more outgoing and had many friends until her mother's death in 1995. At only 8 years old, Tifa was devastated and protected herself by pushing everybody else out. In her desperation, Tifa began to believe that her mother was alive and just simply on the other side of Mount Nibel, and if she were to somehow climb the mountain, she could be with her mother again. Tifa leaves the town determined to find her mother, and Cloud trails behind to protect her. In an act to try to save her, they both fall off the bridge heading to the reactor and plummet down the mountain. Tifa's father finds them and incorrectly blames Cloud for leading her up the mountain. 5 years later, Cloud leaves in an attempt to join Soldier to be like his idol Sephiroth and to impress Tifa. He calls Tifa to the well to tell her, and Tifa makes him promise to protect her if she's ever in trouble. Once Cloud leaves, Tifa checks the newspaper as often as she can to see if Cloud ever made it into Soldier, but she never hears anything. 2 years later, Tifa becomes a cowgirl. 2 years later, Tifa has become a Mount Nibel tour guide as well as a student of the martial arts master Zangan, and a cowgirl. She is hired by the Turks to lead an expedition to the Mount Nibel reactor accompanied by Sephiroth, Zack, and 2 Shinra guards. They reach the reactor, but Tifa is forced to stay behind with one of the guards. A monster attacks and the guard is injured protecting her. A week and a half later, Sephiroth, driven mad by his findings at the reactor and in the Nibelheim Mansion's library, sets Nibelheim ablaze and sets off for the reactor to take Jenova for his own. A group of Nibelheim residents, including Tifa's father, attempt to stop him but are killed. Tifa finds her dead father at the reactor and in a rage attempts to stop Sephiroth but is struck down. Zack arrives and attempts to help Tifa, but she refuses due to her newfound hatred for Soldier. Zack also attempts to stop Sephiroth, but is defeated. After the incident, Zangan finds Tifa and brings her to Midgar for treatment. She recovers in Midgar and later joins Avalanche, an anti-Shinra group led by Barrett, and becomes the owner of the Seventh Heaven Bar. 5 years later, Tifa finds Cloud wandering around the Midgar slums. Tifa realizes that something is very different with Cloud. He claims that he made it into Soldier, although she had never heard about it. He also knows a lot about the Nibelheim incident, even though he wasn't there, and he has forgotten many things that he should remember about his life before leaving Nibelheim, including their promise at the well. In a moment that will set the stage for a huge amount of the plot in Final Fantasy VII, Tifa decides to withhold all of her thoughts from Cloud in order to investigate Cloud's strange behavior herself. On December 9th, Avalanche successfully bombs and destroys the Sector 1 reactor. Afterwards, Cloud attempts to leave Avalanche, but Tifa pleads with him to stay and reminds him of his promise at the well. Cloud agrees to stay, but is separated during the next mission at the Sector 5 reactor. Tifa and Barrett return to the hideout and find a spy working for Don Corneo. Tifa devises a plan to be picked as Corneo's next bride for the day and is spotted by Cloud and Aeris on her way to Wall Market. Cloud and Aeris team up with Tifa and confront Corneo, learn of Shinra's plans to drop the Sector 7 plate, defeat a sewer monster, and travel through the train graveyard, but they're too late. Tifa and Cloud rush to aid Barrett, and Tifa asks Aeris to protect Barrett's daughter Marlene. The party fails in stopping Shinra's plan. The Sector 7 plate is dropped, the supporting members of Avalanche are killed, and Aeris is captured just after getting Marlene to safety. Tifa joins Cloud and Barrett on a raid of Shinra headquarters to save Aeris, but the group is captured by the Turks. Sephiroth, or at least it seems like Sephiroth, goes on a rampage and kills President Shinra, releasing the group from captivity. The group escapes Midgar and heads for Kalm, where Cloud takes the opportunity to tell his story of what happened in Nibelheim 4 years ago. This is one of the big moments where Tifa could reveal her secret knowledge that Cloud's memory is incorrect, but she hesitates due to her own desire to protect Cloud and her realization that maybe her own memory is still hazy. In Gongaga, the party meets Zack's parents. Tifa recognizes Zack as a member of Soldier who came to Nibelheim with Sephiroth, but lies to Cloud to hide her memories from him once again. Soon after, the party arrives in Nibelheim to find the town rebuilt and full of villagers who don't remember Cloud or Tifa ever living there. This further complicates Cloud's recollection of the incident, leading the party to believe that Cloud lied about the town ever being burnt down. In reality, this is one of the moments where Cloud's memory was actually true, However, what the party doesn't know is that Shinra rebuilt the town and placed Shinra employees in the town disguised as villagers in order to cover up the incident. In the Golden Saucer, Tifa is the second most probable date for Cloud, just behind Aeris. If Tifa is picked, she laments about her secrecy and wishes she could tell Cloud the truth, but doesn't. She also partly reveals a lot of her true feelings for Cloud without completely revealing them, giving the player an insight into the later events of the game. On the quest to find Sephiroth, Cloud is manipulated and forced to believe he is not a real person but an experiment created by Hojo. This results in a falling out where he gives Sephiroth the black materia and loses his psyche, becoming a near-empty shell. As Cloud is lost and Meteor is summoned, Tifa and Barret are captured and set to be publicly executed in Junon as scapegoats to prove that Shinra is still in control even after the creation of Meteor. Barret is saved by Cait Sith, but Tifa is trapped in a gas chamber by Scarlet. Tifa frees herself from her restraints, but she can't escape the room until the most miraculously small beam from Sapphire Weapon grazes the gas chamber in the perfect way to give her an escape. Believable. Tifa climbs out and onto the Mako cannon where she is confronted by Scarlet. Tifa is rescued by the rest of the party on the High Wind and is elected the new party leader to search for Cloud. The party finds Cloud in Mideel, and although Cloud's broken psyche and extreme Mako poisoning shows no sign of improving, Tifa decides to stay and look after him. Later, Ultimate Weapon attacks Mideel, and Cloud and Tifa fall into the Lifestream. In the Lifestream, Tifa enters Cloud's subconscious, a place where she can finally tell him the truth about the events at Nibelheim. Tifa tells Cloud that his recollection of the events is wrong, and through the workings of her memory, Cloud is reunited with his old self. Tifa also learns a few things about Cloud, the important ones being 1. Cloud admired her as a child even before the promise at the well. 2. Cloud left Nibelheim to join Soldier in order to impress her. And the big one, number 3, the huge plot reveal and moment that's been hinted at since the start of the game. Cloud never made it into Soldier and instead protected Tifa secretly as an infantryman. The importance of this moment is vital to Tifa's character because up to this point she has been trying to protect Cloud, not knowing that he in turn protected her and kept his promise all along. With Cloud's psyche saved, the two escape the Lifestream and return to the shores of Mideel. One question I get a lot is, how did Tifa survive the Lifestream? It makes sense that Sephiroth and Cloud could survive contact with the Lifestream. The Genova cells in their body allow them to traverse the stream and bend it to their own will. But Tifa is just Tifa. No amount of martial arts can protect her from a certain green oozing death. Well, I did some digging and it turns out that there is a definitive answer for this, in a Japanese novella written by Benny Matsuyama called, well, I'm not going to butcher that, but loosely it's translated to The Girl Who Travels the Planet or The Maiden Who Travels the Planet. It is the story of Aeris after her death up until the end of Final Fantasy VII, and it was published in the Final Fantasy VII Ultimania Omega. The section that explains this event, translated to English found on FinalFantasyKingdom.net, says, both of them were engulfed by Mako as they fell into the planet. For Cloud, it was the second time, but for Tifa, it was her first experience. Aerith risked everything she had in this golden opportunity. She desperately tried to talk to Tifa, who was about to get intoxicated by the highly concentrated Mako. Guiding her conscience, Aerith took her into Cloud's closed heart. In truth, Aerith really wanted to do it herself, but she couldn't carry out the task. That's why she entrusted Tifa with it. She entrusted Tifa with all the feelings she had for Cloud in her heart. She entrusted them to the one that was going to live together with Cloud. So, unsurprisingly, Aeris protected Tifa in the Lifestream and even acted as the catalyst for Cloud's rescue. Aeris's power to control the Lifestream is due to her power as a Cetra, and is confirmed at the end of the game as well as the events in Advent Children. Near the end of the game, Cloud orders the party to split up, learn their true reason for fighting, and return only if they mean to help save the world. Tifa stays behind with Cloud, however, having nowhere else to go. This scene has two possible scripts, one that usually plays out where Cloud and Tifa spend an intimate moment together, and one that plays out only if the character was particularly harsh to Tifa throughout the game. In this version, Cloud is a little more cold to Tifa. According to the Final Fantasy VII 10th Anniversary Ultimania, the scene was originally supposed to be even more suggestive, including a scene where Cloud and Tifa exit out of the Chocobo stable in the Highwind. Tifa looks around to make sure they weren't spotted, hinting that they had... The scene was rejected by Yoshinori Kitase.
Yoshinori Kitase.
The scene was rejected by Yoshinori Kitase. Man, that doesn't sound right, but that's what Google said, so I'm going with it. For being too extreme. But in general, it reveals the nature behind Tifa and Cloud's relationship. That is, before Tifa gets friend-zoned in Advent Children. The party then defeats Sephiroth, Cloud saves Tifa from falling into the crater, and the party watches as Aeris and Holy saves the world. After the game, Tifa received her own section in On the Way to a Smile entitled Case of Tifa, which examines her life and relationship with Cloud after the events of the game. Tifa, Barrett, Marlene, and Cloud become a family and live together in Edge, a newly built town created from the ruins of the destroyed Midgar. Tifa runs the newly constructed Seventh Heaven Bar, and Cloud runs the Strife Delivery Service. Her life with Cloud is described as initially happy, but falls off the rails as Cloud becomes more and more secretive and depressed. Cloud finds Denzel, a lost boy in the Midgar ruins, and brings him home to join the family. Cloud then shows signs of happiness again, before abruptly leaving with no trace at all. Tifa attempts to call his cell phone multiple times with no answer, beginning the events of Advent Children. After Cloud gives Tifa the silent treatment, Tifa takes Marlene to the Sector 5 church hoping that she will find Cloud there. She instead finds out that Cloud has geostigma, and also finds Laz looking for Genova's head. They fight, but Laz, being a remnant of Sephiroth, is too powerful for her. Cloud returns and finds Tifa unconscious, but before he can help, he falls unconscious himself due to his geostigma. Reno and Rude find them and take them back to the Seventh Heaven Bar, where Cloud... yeah, you know the story. So Tifa talks Cloud into fighting to save Marlene and Denzel, and also does this sweet thing.
No giving up!
Unfortunately, she doesn't really do anything else for the rest of the movie, besides a few nice one-liners. Tifa also appears in Final Fantasy VII Dirge of Cerberus, but only as a minor character who helps out when she can and joins the party in rooting for Vincent during the final scene. Gameplay-wise, Tifa is one of the most important characters in the game. She is almost playable more often than Cloud is, being a part of the party for the majority of the game and being the party leader when Cloud is lost. She is one of only 3 characters who can become party leader, be controlled on the world map, and participate in minigames. Tifa uses gloves and claws as her weapons, using her martial arts skills to fight and showing her ultimate techniques in her limit breaks. Tifa's ultimate weapon, the Premium Heart, deals more damage based on how full her limit gauge is, up to roughly 4 times normal damage. Her limit break is one of the most unique in the game, revolving around a slot minigame. Each time a new limit break is unlocked, another more difficult slot is unlocked. Each time a yeah is selected, the move connects for double damage. Each time a hit is selected, the move connects for normal damage, and each time a miss is selected, the move does not trigger at all. Because of all the attacks Tifa can pile up at once, Tifa's limit proves to be a very powerful limit throughout the mid-game and can continue to be powerful late-game, especially if it's used in conjunction with the slot reels exploit. I'll leave a link in the description below if you want to learn more about that. Tifa's true power, however, doesn't lie in her limit break or her ultimate weapon, but rather 2 other weapons she wields, the Power Soul and the Master Fist. The Power Soul doubles Tifa's power if she is in low health and quadruples her power if she is in death sentence. And the Master Fist doubles her power for critical health, poison, sadness, silence, slow, and darkness while tripling her damage for death sentence and slow numb. With just critical health, these weapons do very good damage, but because the multipliers stack on top of each other, adding tons of ailments on top of that causes Tifa to deal astronomical damage. The Power Soul in particular has been an extremely important weapon in the Final Fantasy VII speedrun community, as it allows incredible damage extremely early in the game when combined with critical HP, death sentence, and a critical hit from death blow. Tifa's stats resemble a monk class, although like all the other characters in the game, her stats aren't drastically different. She has pretty medium stats across the board, with a lower HP stat but the third best strength stat in the game. As stated before, Tifa's design came from the idea of a secondary love interest against Aeris, later becoming the primary love interest when Aeris' character became fully developed. According to the Final Fantasy Wiki, Nomura struggled with the idea of giving Tifa a short skirt, but other members of the team agreed with the choice as it gave her freedom of movement for her martial arts style attacks. This might be the reason why her design strayed more towards exposure, especially in one specific aspect, despite her being more introverted and a motherly character. Another theory I've come up with is that due to Square's desire to have Final Fantasy VII be a revolutionary game in many aspects, the extra sexiness in Tifa's design was ripe for use in specific cutscenes where Square wanted to show off the PS1's video capabilities. In fact, it seems that Square took a lot of different approaches to video design in Final Fantasy VII in order to push the PS1 as far as it could go, including the Tifa scenes with no dialogue, scenes with dialogue included, scenes with ambitious camera angles and edgy content, and even some strange ones like the car showcase video in Shinra headquarters. Nomura was adamant in creating Tifa as an independent and modern woman. Tifa in herself represents a woman who can defend herself, fight for herself, yet be gentle and loving when needed. One other interesting note about Tifa's design involves a 1997 English demo of the game where Tifa was playable in the opening bombing mission, even though the final release of the Japanese version was already out in Japan. This demo was made to simply show off as much as they could from the game, which is why it included Tifa as well as a myriad of spells usually not available in the first mission. In the English version of Advent Children, Tifa was voice acted by Rachel Leigh Cook, who describes Tifa as a very cool character, both very strong physically and emotionally, but also very sensitive. In fact, Cook voiced Tifa in virtually every media Tifa has been in, including Kingdom Hearts 2 and World of Final Fantasy. Tifa's theme is played during the important well scene at the beginning of the game, as well as in the Seventh Heaven bar up until Cloud sleeps and wakes up the next day. It has also been used in several other games, including Before Crisis and Dissidia, and a piano version is included in Advent Children. Tifa has always been one of the more popular Final Fantasy VII characters and has extended out of the series quite often. She has been a very popular source of cosplay, fandom, and even television references. Square has made several Easter eggs of Tifa in their games, including a poster of her in an unrelated RPG, Xenogears, which by the way is also referenced in Final Fantasy VII. Tifa's name may be short for Tiffany, which in Greek means three, the Trinity, possibly symbolizing the love triangle she was created for. Tifa's last name, Lockhart, might be a reference to Tifa locking away her feelings as part of the main plot of the game. Or it might just be a cool last name. The original English translation spelled the name Lockhart with an E in the manual and the official Brady Guide. Hey, I hope you enjoyed this in-depth look at Tifa. If you want some behind-the-scenes stuff of this video, you can check out my Patreon page. I'm going to be making a lot more in-depth videos soon, so let me know in the comments which character you'd like to see next. Thanks again, everybody, for all of your love and support.